Broncos Country, let's bow on this Monday morning on today's DNVR Broncos show. We're going to talk about Bo Nix's great second performance, break it down in depth after rewatching the film, and also talk about when the heck Sean Payton's going to name him the starting quarterback. We've got answers to that question starting now.
On the Bo questions right here. The band sounds pretty good. I'm not dancing,
Sorry, Sean, but Broncos Country's dancing after Bo's performance last night, and we're dancing here on the DNVR Broncos podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, where we're just going to keep the dance party going all day long. In fact, we might keep it going for 15 years long if Bo continues to look the way he has in this preseason. And of course, we're live in the Toyota Lounge, which is brought to you by your local Front Range Toyota stores. If you need a new car, go check them out. Live inside the DNVR Bar, where it was popping yesterday. And man, Denver is electric with Bo Nix's performance yesterday, combined with his performance the week before, combined with his performance all throughout training camp. And we've got Henry Chisholm, Zach Stevens, you here behind the camera. Henry, we're about 12 hours removed from Bo Nix's second preseason game. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I knew yesterday that the vibes were going to be good when because we're right off of Colfax, and that doesn't mean don't come to the DNVR bar because we're in a really cool spot. But sometimes on the way through, you see some things. I happened to see a drug dealer on his bike wearing a brand new bright orange Bo Nix jersey. I was like, oh, everybody is all in on Bo Nix now.
Oh my gosh, if the dealers are in, man, you know good things are happening. And
his only drug is Bo Nix at this point.
There we go. That's the only drug that this Mile High city needs in order to be a mile high is just film a watching Bo, inject it straight into my veins, because 8 for 9, 80 yards, a touchdown, 2 drives, 2 scores. You combine it all. And Henry, we're talking about a guy in his first NFL action in 2 preseason games, played roughly around 3 quarters of football. He goes 23 of 30 for 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a passer rating of, I think, 120, right around there. Scored on every single possession that he was leading, outside of when Lucas Kroll fumbled. Literally, when it was up to Bo, the Denver Broncos scored, and they scored to a tune of 30 points under his watch. Henry, I said 30 points in about 3 quarters. That's roughly 40 points over an entire game, and this is over 2 games, a pretty good sample size here. I get some people saying that's preseason, and it is fair that Bo was playing against backups, mainly backups in the first preseason game. He was playing against all backups yesterday. I couldn't have drawn up a script any better in my mind for Bo Nix to have in the preseason. Maybe outside of being 6 inches behind the line of scrimmage, that's the only thing that would have helped. But even that play was really impressive. I mean, I'm blown away by Bo so far.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that, so week 1, he gets the job done. Just about every play, he turns into a really good play. But he really does look like a rookie in that game. He's got the jitters. He's got the happy feet. He's getting out of pockets when he probably doesn't need to. Again, it comes from being a rookie. You look at this week, and that was really the one thing I wanted to see was, we know that you can do everything except look calm or take advantage of these clean pockets. And, given that the Broncos offensive line, the starters are playing a backup defensive line, Kenny Clark's not out there, Rashawn Gary's not out there, those guys are freaks. I knew that we would be seeing some clean pockets, And Bo took advantage. He just looked calmer. He looked more poised. I thought he looked more like a veteran. And again, like, yes, he's playing backups. I don't really care, though, because that wasn't what I was looking for. Like, it's cool. He did all the off-platform stuff again. Like, we can trust that. But the big thing to me is that he looked more settled. He looked like he'd grown from week 1 to week 2. And to me, just about every box has been checked at this point.
100%. And I love that you pointed to the footwork and the calmness and the composure. And he is a guy, whether you're talking to him just in a one-on-one setting, in a press conference setting, you see him operate an offense, it is wild how composed and calm and poised he is. Being a rookie, making his first couple NFL debuts in such a jump from college to the NFL, because he just does not seem like a rookie. He doesn't act like a rookie. He doesn't talk like a rookie. One of the things, the only criticism we heard from Sean Payton publicly about Bo in his first preseason game was he said there's 2 throws where he needs to set his feet better.
Yep.
So he didn't want to throw him under the bus and, throw a lot of things out there. The only thing he pointed to, Sean, last week was he just needs to set his feet better on a couple. Henry,
that's
you
what
and
we
I,
said. Yeah.
Exactly. We broke it down 48 hours before Sean even said that, 72 hours before Sean even said that. And so I noticed exactly what you did from Bo's performance. And so I asked Bo after the game, like, really seems like you worked on your footwork. How did you feel about that? And here's what Bo had to say about improving his footwork after the game.
Bo, speaking of that, last week, the only thing Sean pointed to that he wanted you to improve on was your footwork. How did you feel that went for you tonight?
I thought it was, good. The pocket was great, able to stand in there and deliver some throws. And footwork piece is always tricky because sometimes you just go off of natural and you go off of feel. Sometimes you're able to go in rhythm, and those are the good ones. But we know it doesn't always necessarily happen like that. So sometimes you got to break the pocket. Sometimes you got to run. We had a few opportunities tonight where we got out the pocket. One that was called back. It was really close. So and then another was able to go get some yards and cut the yardage in half that we needed. So those are always good. You always want to escape, but you definitely want to stay on time. The more on time you can stay, play within rhythm, I think it just opens up all the rest of the movement.
Music to Sean Payton's ears. You want to stay on time as much as possible. Henry was a complete opposite with the quarterback that the Broncos had last year that Sean Payton had to work with. In fact, the talk during that season and specifically during the Nathaniel Hackett season was, oh man, we know there's always going to be 2 plays when Russ is the quarterback. There's going to be the play that's called and then the play that the play turns into 5 seconds after because he's rolling around and scrambling. And man, that was a fun type of football to get behind because like plays are always going to be chaotic and you're just waiting for Russ to pull the rabbit out of the hat. And then we found out that that's just not sustainable. And then we found out last year that Sean Payton hates that type of football. Now, it is nice to have that when you absolutely have to go to that last resort, and we saw Sean Payton do that. We saw Bo Nix do that a couple of times last night, which we'll get into. But Sean wants some guy that's going to stay in the pocket, do what the play is designed to do. Because Sean Payton is an offensive mastermind, and so he says, I want the play that I'm calling to be run. I don't want you to just take it and then say, when I'm not really going to read play one or read 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to run around until Courtland Sutton just gets open, or I can throw it to him in the back of the end zone. And so what Bo's answer there was just music to Sean Payton's ears. It's about doing what is asked of him. And Henry, we saw that in his footwork last night. He took the drop back and then he planted off his back foot and threw it forward. I don't think there was a single play last night where Bo was in a pocket, in a comfortable pocket, or able to set his feet where he did not set his feet. And so the fact that in 1 week, while still learning the offense, while still having offensive installs, they're still learning the playbook right now and installing it, that he was able to grow that much, incredibly encouraged. So like the 8 for 9, 80 yards, 1 touchdown, scoring on every single drive is really impressive. The more impressive thing when Sean Payton takes a look at the film today is going to be saying, wow, he is growing right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like the on-schedule stuff, that's the meat and potatoes of your offense. Like, that's how you get good, consistent production and work your way down the field. You got to have the magic on third downs in the red zone and 2-minute drills. Again, like you see that from Bo, where you get down deep in the red zone, and that's where you have to kind of... The windows aren't as big. They're tough to get open. And when you can buy time and change angles, all of a sudden you can make something happen. And he has a pretty good feel for that sort of thing. Like when it's time to just run a play, do your job, and when it's time to make something happen. We still didn't see any drop back passes from under center. So it's back-to-back weeks. There hasn't been a single one. So we've seen 31 dropbacks now, because there are a couple that were brought back by penalties. Still no just straight dropbacks from under center. I wonder if that's just not installed yet, which would be kind of strange. We also didn't see as many RPOs. Not a single one of his passes was an RPO last night. I can only think of one pass or one run that was an RPO. Again, the all 22 hasn't come out yet. I wish it had. I was up nice and early to check, but it probably won't be up for at least a few more hours. And I'm curious if we go back and look and all of a sudden there were more RPOs in that running game than we thought, but it's not like they were running the ball a whole bunch with him in. I guess early on there were more. I'm curious to see where the offense goes from here, though, because the big thing's the under center stuff. So we saw the shotgun footwork, more so just meaning like don't panic and throw off your back foot or don't run out of a clean pocket. I think at some point you want to see that drop back from under center look clean. And you'd imagine it's something he's been working on with the quarterback coach for the past few years, but it's not something that maybe a handful of times his entire college career was asked to drop back from under center and plant and hit somebody. And so big picture, I would love to see the Broncos able to run that same shotgun quick game from under center, because I think that bridges a lot of things. It forces cornerbacks, when you're lining up under center, to fear quick passes instead of saying, like, we can just sit back because we know it's going to take at least 2 seconds for this play action to drag on. But that's kind of the final piece here to me, because everything else we've seen from him, he's kind of just checked every single box. I guess he hasn't played against starters, and you wonder what that looks like. But we've seen him play with pressure coming in week 1. You know, when you've got the number 2 receivers against number 2 defenders, like, those windows should be similar. But maybe you could throw that in there too. But for the most part, Bo looks ready.
He does. He definitely looks ready. And speaking of the offense, Henry, we might not see Bo do what you're asking him to do until next year. And it might be week 8 of this year. It might be week 14. It might see it starting to trickle in week 4. But it's clear that Sean Payton is taking the right approach with Bo, really developing this offense for his strengths. And then at some point, those other concepts will get mixed in, again, whether it's this year. But I trust in Sean and the way that he is going to develop Bo. And speaking of the offense and how it fits Sean, or how it fits Bo, let's hear from Bo talking about just this offensive fit with Sean Payton and how he's making this offense, because he pretty much calls it a match made in heaven. Let's hear it. You hear? You need a minute?
Really good. I think it's a really good fit, especially tonight. I mean, come out here, I'm very comfortable with the first few plays that were called, and they were kind of, keeping it within my comfort level, and that's, huge, especially for someone who's trying to get in there and execute. You want to run plays that you feel comfortable with, and that's what Coach Payton was calling tonight. So we do a good job of, practicing throughout the week and making sure we're prepared for those plays. And, I messed up a few tonight, and there'll always be those that you mess up, but you definitely want to, execute more than you mess up. And so that's what we were able to do tonight. Really good.
All right, so that's Bo talking about when things are going right, just how well it works. But, Henry, we've broken down in this first segment just how when things are going well, he is nearly perfect. He is the quarterback that Sean Payton wants. But one of the things that's underrated about Bo's game is when things don't go well, how he is able to improvise, how he's able to make very difficult throws. I don't think he's getting the credit he deserves yet. So I want to dive into the film and look at two of those plays where I'm just so impressed by Bo's ability to make special plays and make plays that are not routine and that are not easy. Because I think when people think of Bo Nix, they think of Oregon's offense. They think of, okay, yeah, he's going to throw 500 5-yard passes and shorter. He's going to throw so many screens. But what does he do when a guy's in his face? We saw that multiple times last night, and the results were great. Let's dive into the film after I give a shout out to our friends over at UC Health, where in Broncos Country, we're saying ready, set, Bo. They're saying ready, set, Co, which is their new initiative with Coach Prime, where Coach Prime wants to help you and other Coloradans be your healthiest selves as their chief motivation officer for UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge. The goal of the challenge is to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state, and part of that challenge is nutrition. So Nutrition Prime is here to set the tone and get you thinking about choices, little choices, about how and what you eat. As Nutrition Prime says, Henry, it's all about balance in the belly. And we're not talking about Quinn Miners. We're talking about your belly, which means you don't have to go on some crazy strict diet, just daily choices that do the trick. So if you want to get involved in Coach Prime's Ready, Set, Co with UC Health, go to uchealth.org/readysetco. If you want to sign up for the challenge, you can also click the show notes in our description here in order to join that link, or you can just go to uchealth.org/readysetco to partner up with UC Health and Coach Prime to get living your healthiest life.
And go check out Indeed. If you're looking for a job, if you're looking to hire somebody for a job, Indeed is the place to go. They've got over 350 million global monthly visitors. I've combined viewers and visitors. That was weird. We were up so late last night. If you can ditch the busy work, Indeed will do the scheduling, the screening, the messaging. You can connect with candidates faster. It also doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed study. Again, they've got over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day so that their matching engine can constantly learn from your preferences. The more you use Indeed, the better it gets. There are more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast, and listeners of this show can get a $75 sponsored job credit. So you get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
You do need Indeed, and we need to dive into some film right now. And Henry, there's two plays that I want to bring up and get your opinion on, and just see what Bo is able to do in the rare times, not the every time when plays go astray, but the rare times where things do break off of schedule, because we know that happens, and the great quarterbacks are able to adjust to that. It's clear, though, Sean Payton needs a quarterback for that to be the outlier, not the every time. And actually, on these two plays, things don't really go that astray. Bo is still working under the center of what Sean Payton has dialed up in this play. And here we're looking at a 2nd and 6 on the first drive. The Broncos are just behind the 30-yard line of the Packers. Bo's starting under center here, but it's not, as Henry has alluded to, it's not a straight drop back under center. So what Sean's done is he's helped Bo out and when he is working under center and he is going to do a pass, it's after a play action, and he's on the move because we know Bo is good at that. So it's a fake toss here that he has, and then he starts rolling to the right. And the way this play is designed is, man, there might be a free rusher right there, and that is what happens. This Green Bay Packers defender does not take the bite, and he is in Bo's face right there, chasing him down. And let's see the next slide right here. And this is right when Bo throws the ball. And I want you, if you're watching on YouTube, I want you to see where Bo Nix is and where Tim Patrick is. Bo Nix is almost at the yard marker where Tim Patrick is on the other side of the hash right there. Bo is throwing backward right here. He's throwing the opposite way of his body, of his movement right here. And there's a defender in his face. And honestly, in the path of the ball, where when you first watch this play, you're like, okay, nice. Bo threw the ball 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. Tim Patrick gets like 4 more and gets the first down here. But just look at this next picture. Look at this picture. When you really look at it, you realize, okay, Bo is rolling to the right. He's throwing across his body back into the middle of the field, and sometimes that's scary. Sometimes you tell quarterbacks, do not do that. But where Tim Patrick was, how much space he had, and then the zip that Bo was able to put on that shows you that his arm strength is plenty good enough there. It's not elite, but it is more than good enough there. I was really impressed with Bo's ability to make that throw, because it seems like a routine throw. It's a 3-yard throw past the line of scrimmage, picks up the first down, doesn't go for more than 15 yards. But man, the degree of difficulty there is pretty darn high for just seeming like a routine play.
Definitely. I mean, we talked about this ever since the draft. The off-platform throws, the ability to change the arm angle. Again, you mostly see it third downs and specifically in the red zone, but it was right there. You know, when they ran those naked bootlegs with Russ, it didn't go very well because he wasn't fast enough. Now, I would imagine you might be able to get back to those because, again, you leave that defender unblocked on the edge with the idea being that either he bites on the run or your quarterback can just make a play. And Bo was capable of making that play, whereas Russ, at his age, just didn't have that anymore. So it opens up the playbook a little bit when you can add that extra mobility to what you had last year.
Exactly. I mean, we saw the mobility on a couple of runs he had, including on 1st and 20 after a penalty. He just like casually scrambles towards the sideline and picks up 10 yards. The way he was running just made it look like he's like only picking up like a yard to avoid a sack. No, he got 10 yards on that one. And then I want to look at this other play that we've got cut up from you here, where it's the touchdown pass to Tim Patrick. And when I saw this live, Henry, I literally tweeted like, wow, what a great play design. Sean Payton makes it easy, an easy read, an easy throw for Bo Nix. You look back at it, no, it was not easy. He just made it look easy. So it's another very similar play design where Bo is working under center, but it's not a traditional drop back like you talked about, Henry. It's a rollout. So let's see the play develop. Bo's rolling to the right, and then this defender right here has to make an option. Do I want to stay on this back that's leaking out of the backfield, or do I want to go attack Bo Nix and either try to get the sack or force him to throw the ball right away? Still, Tim Patrick's not open. Let's see this next one. And you see, I think this is right after Bo throws right before Bo throws the ball. And this defender has decided to go after Bo Nix instead. So he is all over Bo Nix when he throws this ball. Tim Patrick gets some separation, but the moment Bo Nix releases this pass, this defender is within a foot of him with his hands in the air, about to hit him and just smothered on him. And Bo is still able to zip a pass about 15 yards beyond where he's standing right now to Tim in the end zone. Obviously, Tim has some separation, but there's still 3 Green Bay Packers within like a yard and a half of him. He has to put this ball on the money. And what I was most impressed about was just the zip that he was able to get it by that first defender that's just right on Bo while making an off-platform throw.
Yep, I mean that's what Bo Nix is all about. I mean, if you go watch every touchdown he threw at Oregon, there are some deep balls in there because his receivers were just faster than everybody else. But a lot of them look just like that, where he gets out of the pocket, has to change an arm angle, find a window. A lot of them are even crazier than that, honestly. Like that's probably one of the easier ones.
Yeah.
Most of them he's breaking tackles, spinning back the other way, doing those sorts of things. Again, that's why the comparison to me is not a Drew Brees.
No.
It's like maybe it's a young Russell Wilson. Hope that
anyone else, Henry.
You hope that it's like a Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, yeah.
If all goes well, like if you want to make the crazy comparison, it's a guy like that. Aaron Rodgers would be maybe even better than Mahomes, I guess.
Someone, I want to know what you think about this. Someone in the Toyota chat earlier in the show today said a little more mobile Joe Burrow. Do you like that?
I think why would you say more mobile Joe Burrow when you can just say Aaron Rodgers? You know, like I think that there's better examples there.
That's fair.
Yeah, like and I guess Rodgers probably has a little bigger arm.
Yeah, and I was gonna say Joe Burrow doesn't necessarily have an elite arm.
Yeah, But long term, like these are what you hope that it is. Realistically, does he get there? I mean, the odds would say no. There's a chance that he winds up being the best quarterback in the NFL for 5 years, like Aaron Rodgers did. And so far, all signs are positive. But that's what you're looking for. And I think in the modern NFL, more than anything, we talked about this last week. There's a reason why he spent the offseason working with his coach, his offseason coach, to stop throwing over the top and get the 3-quarter motion, because it makes it easier to get into the different arm angles. Yep. Because that's just what you need in the NFL at this point. As offenses kind of dried up, it's all about the playmaking from the quarterback position. And he's proven what we kind of already knew, that was maybe what he's best at.
Yep, 100%. You know who Courtland Sutton compared Bo Nix to last night after the game?
Who?
Bo Nix.
Yes.
He said
there we go.
He's just out there being Bo Nix. Maybe he's developing a new mold for himself and for other quarterbacks to adapt to and try to be like. At least, man, the vibes are that good right now with Bo Nix, where I'm not going to hold anyone back. I mean, the Twitter chat's going wild saying, okay, this team's winning 12 games. Henry, you're throwing out awesome odds. What is it? Plus 1,100 for over 9.5 wins for the Broncos. For me, forget 5.5. I love those odds for plus 1,100 to win 10 or more games this season. Incredible odds. I think by week 3, people in the country, I mean, the new over-under for the Broncos is going to be 8.5. It's going to jump from 5.5 to 8.5. I do think they're going to be winning. I think this team is going to get off to a really good start. And any Broncos fan that's excited about this, I'm not going to tamp your expectations or put a wet blanket on your excitement, because, man, what we're seeing is very, very exciting. But there is kind of one question, Henry. Why the hell hasn't Sean Payton named Bo Nix a starting quarterback after everything we've seen? 23 of 30, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, scored on every single drive that he's led when Lucas Kroll didn't fumble. Why hasn't Sean named him the starting quarterback? Well, we're going to hear from Sean and exactly what he said after the game, and also hear from Bo about, does he think he's done enough for this job? And we're going to tell you about it after I give a shout out to our friends over at Z-Biotics. We're over at Z-Biotics. This is a game-changing product that we here at DNVR use before a night out at drinks. And, you know, we have a lot of those over here. We are sitting on top of a bar right now, for goodness sake. And our friends over at Z-Biotics pre-alcohol let us have much better mornings the day after having alcohol than before this. And here's 6 things that you need to know about Z-Biotics. It's a pre-alcohol. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, the alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to help break this byproduct down. And just remember to make Z-Biotic your first drink of the night, so that your mornings are the best the next day, especially when you're getting a little older. You know that those mornings are a little tougher every single year that goes on, and Z-Biotics helps with that. So whether it's vacations, weddings, birthdays, or reunions, there's so much going on. Get the most out of your summer plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/DNVR Broncos to get 15% off your first order when you use that code DNVR Broncos at checkout. Prebiotic is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/DNVR Broncos and use the code DNVR Broncos at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
And shout out to Bet365. I gave out some of those odds earlier. I made a lot of bets last night on the Broncos because
you were all over them winning.
When I was in Minnesota, I wasn't able to make bets because of the stupid bad laws they have there. And so I had to make my bets beforehand. And so instead of like hedging some of them or like cashing out any of that sort of stuff, I was like, well, this is what we're going with, and we're going to ride with it. And I was on fire. People say don't bet on preseason games. I think that's the best time to bet.
Ooh.
Like it's so many just obvious ones. Like the Bears. You watch them in the first preseason game. How do you not just take the money line in the second preseason game? And they go on what they were 27-3, almost as good as the Broncos.
Not quite as good.
The Ravens now.
Insane.
I know it's awesome.
Should be automatic, right?
Well, so the thing is, the 24-game win streak ended last year. They lost their preseason game this year, so you got them at -120.
Wow.
But it's like, it's not that the streak was why they were winning. It's because they really, really care about winning in the preseason.
Yeah.
So that's another one where you combine, like, it's the Ravens versus, like, people want to bet on Michael Penix. -120 a lock. And so I was super hot. Wound up with the Broncos -7 last night. I actually thought 27-2. If you were to tell me that was a score before the game, I'd be a little bit disappointed. I honestly thought.
Oh my goodness!
Like, I mean, but like whenever we've seen
27-2, what more could you want?
Well, last year when the Broncos played the Rams backups, it was 41-zip. The year before, when the Broncos played their backups against the Bills starters, it was like 50-10 or something.
It's
like
true.
The second string offense and defense, like, it kind of got sketchy there.
There were some sacks.
I think they wasted a lot of opportunity. So, I mean, it was a lock, and I put a bunch of that. I still got to figure out my NFL futures, but I got my Broncos futures set.
Love it.
Which is nice. If you guys want to join me, head over to Bet365. I love the season-long bets because then you don't have to worry, like, week to week, what am I betting on? You just have these big ones to wait for. If you want to sign up, use the code DNVR365, deposit $10. You get to choose between a bet and get offer, place a bet $5 or more, get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer, you place a bet up to $1,000. If the qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund on bonus bets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
How is there fighting in the Toyota chat? I don't get it. The vibes are supposed to be sky high right now. At least they are with me. Maybe I'm just living in my own little bubble. But
yeah. Can you tell us what the fight is? Is it football-related fight? We can be the judge.
It is. It's just a lot of people blaming each other. I didn't call C.J. Stroud. Oh, I knew about T.J. Stroud.
So it's nothing that we can just...
Well, you know what?
Damn.
Everyone, all Broncos fans get on the same page. Call Bo Nix being the truth. Right now, we can all get on that same page. And speaking of being on the same page, we got a lot of people tuning in with us. This is going to be roughly our new show time. We're going to be going, the rest of this week, we're going to be going live at 10 a.m. There's a reason for that. On Wednesday, stay tuned later in the show to find out why. And then likely throughout the season, we'll be going live at 10 or 11. We just need to find out the Broncos official schedule. So make sure that you subscribe to YouTube. Make sure to turn on notifications so that when we go live, you don't miss a show. And please hit us with a thumbs up. For a Monday morning, we got tons of people rocking and rolling with us right now, and not nearly enough thumbs up. If you're tuning in on Twitter right now, make sure to go over to YouTube. That also helps us. It allows you to comment, get in the Toyota chat as well. Okay, I told you we were going to hear from Sean Payton, and we had a happy Sean Payton. I was at the press conference last night. It started happy. He was happy with the 27-2 win. Winning in preseason matters to Sean Payton. Also, seeing his first-round quarterback do very well matters to Sean Payton. He was happy about that. But, Henry, I think by the time the fifth or sixth question about Bo being the starter came around, Sean went from happy Sean to pissed off at the media. I'm done talking about Bo. Let's talk about other things, Sean. And let's hear from that Sean right now. Remember what Kay Adams asked him last week? She said, Sean, the jig is up. Why haven't you named Sean Payton the starting quarterback? And he said, well, the band's still playing. There's one or two songs left of the band. Let's see that. So our friend Darren McKee asked him, D-Mac asked him yesterday, using the Kay Adams, the analogy that he used last week to Kay, and I don't think that rubbed Sean the right way. So let's hear the question, and let's hear what Sean had to say about that.
Yep.
Coach, you told Kay Adams the band still has to play a couple more times, using that metaphor, knowing it's not done yet. How's the band sounding? How are things progressing?
Listen, this is all right. Putting the cap on the Bo questions right here. The band sounds pretty good. I'm not dancing. You know, listen, there are a lot of things we did well as a team. All right, I'm not announcing a starter, and I told you I'll get with you when we do.
Well, when's that going to happen, Sean? Because we want to dance here in Broncos Country. We want to see you dance on that. Man, wouldn't that be incredible if he walks up to the podium to announce Bo as his starter and he just starts dancing, the PR starts playing music for him?
There's just no way Like, there was no way that was going to happen that night. And I get, like, you can ask the question. I think, Vic Lombardi has had tweeted this a couple times and whatever, but he said, like, what is the obsession with, like, is today the day? Is the day that, like, we all know what's going to happen. There's just, like, a process. And there was just no world in which Sean was just going to walk up to the podium and be like, yep, that was it. Like, there's meetings that you have with the other coaches. There's meetings you have with the front office. For something like this, you might even talk to the owners before you tell the players. Like, I think there's a real chance that happens. It's not just going to be Sean standing on the sideline being like, yeah, I've seen enough. I'm just going to casually go say this. Like, there's tape to watch. As Sean always says, the good isn't as good as you think it was. The bad isn't as bad as you think it is. Like, you watch the tape to see what it actually looked like. You talk to the people you talk to. There was no world in which that was going to be the situation. Like, especially with Sean Payton, too. Like, with Nathaniel Hackett, he might just do something for the vibes of the whole thing. No, Sean, there's meticulous. There's a system. Like, you have to make Bo Nix earn it. Like, there are some teams that don't do that, which I think is kind of dumb and gross. With Bo Nix, you have a rookie quarterback, you make him earn it. And he went out there, he earned it. You heard, I wrote about it last night. All of his teammates were talking about how much better he looks, the plays that he's making. Like, it just makes sense. It's easier on everybody if you make him go through and prove that he's the guy, and then the transition to him being the starter and the other two being backups, it's just so smooth. So yeah, it's coming this week. I think we all know that at this point. Like, how could it not? But we could just relax, foot off the gas a bit.
Oh, you're going all Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Relax.
Yeah,
relax, Broncos
relax.
Country.
It's okay.
And I told you guys last week how this was going to play out, and I still firmly believe this is exactly how it's going to play out. The Broncos are in the building today. Mm-hmm. The players as well. They come in, they watch film with the coaches. Then the players have tomorrow off. That's their off day. The coaches will meet in the mornings, come up with their weekly plan, talk about the depth chart, especially because we're 8 days away from cut day right now. So there's going to be a lot of that talk. And then also they're going to talk about, okay, are we ready to name starters at cornerback, at inside linebacker, at center, and at quarterback? And Sean's going to say, the jig is up. The jig is up. I'm ready to name Bo Nix a starter. So what they'll do is some coaches do it this way, where on the players' off day, they'll bring in Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Bo Nix and tell them all, we're going with Bo Nix as the starter. Hey, guys, if you guys keep that internal, I want to tell the team tomorrow. Then we won't find out tomorrow. We might, but likely not find out tomorrow. On Wednesday morning, between 8 and 9:30, there's going to be a team meeting, and Sean will address the team and say, Bo Nix is our starting quarterback for week 1 in the regular season against Seattle. The reports will break, and we will be doing a show to break it down. Right at 10 a.m., the Broncos will have practice that day. Then we'll talk to Bo, Jarrett, Sean, and Zach Wilson right after to talk about the news. That's how it's going to break down. I firmly believe that. Henry, I know that inside the building they were looking at this week as a week to name the starting quarterback. They just kind of hoped things went to plan, and things with flying colors went to plan. It is exactly how Sean Payton wanted this to go. But you're so right. He was never going to get up last night on pure emotion and joyfully say, Bo Nix is our starting quarterback. It was never going to happen. I'm not concerned about it. That's not how steady, successful coaches operate in the NFL. Just like think of like what Bill Belichick would do. Would he go up there and name someone a starter after a game? No. He would wait and then grumpily do it in front of the media on Wednesday and would try to downplay it. And so that's how it's going to play out here. But I want to hear a little bit more from Bo and a little bit more from Sean, specifically from Sean. Before that question, when we were still allowed to ask Bo Nix questions before he shut it down with that one, he was asked, has Bo Nix done enough to be the starter? Let's hear what Sean's answer to that was.
I'm not announcing any starting quarterback tonight, or I'll let you guys know when the time comes. But I thought he played well. The one penalty, which was, right on the line, it was tough. It was good. It was a pretty heads-up play. He did a good job at the line of scrimmage with some checks. You feel his comfort level as he continues to get used to the calls coming in, and you kind of feel the poise when he's playing, and the other two the same way. Look, I said this last week. I like the room. So their job is to lead their offense down the field and score points, and they all had touchdown drives. But I thought he was sharp. Obviously, I think he was 8 for 9, and he does a good job of distributing the football, understanding the zones, man to man, and what coverage concepts we're getting. But overall, it was.
He can't hold back, man. He first says, "Well, I'm not naming a starting quarterback." Okay, we get it, and I get why he threw that in there. And then he goes to praise him, Bo, and then he's like, "You know what? He's not the starter yet, so I'm going to adjust a little bit and talk about all 3 quarterbacks." But then he can't help himself. He goes back to Bo. You can tell he loves what he's seeing in Bo Nix. It's just not how coaches operate, to go out there and name that starting quarterback right away. But Henry, it's coming. It's coming this week. And do you think, you asked me this question, do you think we see Bo in the final preseason game?
I don't. I would bet no. I mean, it's pretty close to 50-50, though. If we do see him, it's going to be for like a drive or 2 drives. I think some of it depends on like how much are they still installing. If there's a lot that they're still adding to the offense this week, it might make sense just to, like, you just script a drive out, hit some of those plays, just get a couple reps. You're playing the Cardinals. I'm not sure if the Cardinals play their starters. If the Cardinals don't play their starters, it's a little bit easier just because you can say it's a new look. We'll see a slightly different defense. We don't have to worry about, I mean, it's not like the Cardinals defense is something you worry about in the first place, but at least there's no like Budda Baker out there. You should be able to get clean pockets. You should be able to avoid injuries for a series. So I think I would, but I think that they probably won't.
Yeah, no, I don't think they will either. I think we've seen enough of Bo, and I think we saw it last night. Henry Bo could have easily played more. Sean thought he was going to play more going into the game, but after 2 drives, you saw everything you need to see.
Long drives, too.
Yeah, exactly. Long drives. He threw less than half the passes in yesterday's game than he did the week before, and Sean said, I've seen enough. So when he saw enough in the second preseason game, it means he doesn't need to see anything in the third preseason game. So I expect Bo to be named the starter on Wednesday, Bo to not play in the final preseason game, and then Bo to be the starting quarterback week 1 in Seattle, which is less than 3 weeks away. And one of the things I want to circle back on really quick before we go forward is Bo talked about the play where he was just past the line of scrimmage. Yeah. He said post-game, he was like, man, I thought it was really close. I thought I was behind the line. And then he said, yeah, when I looked over after I threw the ball, didn't have a good feeling about it. And he said, instant replay gets us all. So, I mean, pretty incredible, though, that with that penalty, which is a pretty sizable penalty, you lose it down, you go back 5 yards, you don't get that play, obviously, that they were still able to get a field goal in that drive. If he was 4 inches further behind when he threw that, it still would have been a touchdown, still would have been the same result of the play, and he would have gone 2 drives, 2 touchdowns, and it would have been even better. So, Henry, do you have any final thoughts on Bo before we move to maybe the second best story coming out of yesterday's game?
Yeah, I mean, that play, it's you wish you would have made the right play, either hang back behind the line, throw the ball, just scramble. I mean, it's a 3rd down, it's a 1 yard, like you could just go pick that up. You wish that would have happened because in that case, it would have been pretty close to the perfect day. In that case, it's just a missed protection when he sent Troutman out to the flat, and all of a sudden you say like those 2 plays, it's perfect. But also because of the way that play went, it's definitely more exciting. It's more promising for the future than if he had just scrambled for a yard. And because it's preseason, why not just do the thing that's more interesting and more exciting going forward? It's not like it's this huge knock on him. So yeah, I mean, really, really good day, and you're a few inches away on that play, a missed protection call on another play from it being a perfect day.
Yep, and speaking of perfect days, was it a perfect day for Tim Patrick yesterday?
Yeah.
4 passes thrown his way, 4 catches, 30 yards, I think, and a touchdown. The first time he's got into the end zone in 1,000 days. Yeah. And then Henry, he hit us with the mile-high salute after getting into the end zone. For a preseason game, you can't get a cooler moment with your rookie first-round pick throwing a touchdown to a guy that's like the heart of this offense, or would have been these last 2 years if he was healthy, but back-to-back season-ending injuries keeps him out, and the touchdown pass from your rookie first-round quarterback is thrown to Tim Patrick. It was so cool, and we saw a picture come out from the Broncos Twitter account last night on their social media of the team going crazy for Tim Patrick, and Jarrett Stidham told us about that moment after the game. Let's hear from Jarrett talking about that moment with Tim, because it is so cool.
People don't see it, but like, we just went crazy for Tim Patrick in the locker room after the game, because he finally, he scored his first touchdown, back from the injuries and stuff over the last 2 years, and that doesn't happen everywhere. So, it's a special group of guys for sure.
It's definitely a special moment, and that's Jarrett. Once again, every time we talk to Jarrett, he talks about how this team is uniquely close together, how close they are as a team, and he says this is not normal. I'm not just saying it to say it. Jarrett did not say this last year, so this is a new message that he has, but I want to focus on Tim because we also got to hear from Sean talking about Tim and how cool it was, and then we also got to hear from Bo talking about Tim. So let's hear from Sean first, talking about Tim, what it means, and just what he could be for this team.
Is that what they were saying?
I think so. Just what did you see from him tonight, and can you just kind of speak to the progress he's made since he's been here?
Yeah, look, players were excited in there for him. He had a big smile on his face. When you both he and Griffin, when you have an injury for a year, and Quinn Bailey's one, when you have one of those injuries, it's quiet, it's lonely, everything goes on, it's difficult. But when you have it for two, you can really go back historically and then try to find players that have been out for 2 years. And, it's tough. That's a long time in this sport. And so when he has a moment like that, or when he has a practice where you see him, getting back to form, it's encouraging.
I mean, not only is it a feel-good story, but he's going to have an impact on this team, Henry. And you asked me last night, I want your opinion. Is Tim Patrick going to be a starter on this team?
Yeah. I think coming into camp, I guess maybe there was some Marvin Mims hype. But I feel like at that point, maybe it was not obvious, but certainly the favorite. Then during training camp, he's just kind of quiet, which isn't that big of a deal. But to see him have a game like that, it helps his case. I don't really think there's a case for anybody else to be the starter. I think that, obviously you got Courtland Sutton, but outside of Tim, I don't even know.
Probably Josh Reynolds would be the guy. Not even probably. He's first. Devon Vele, maybe.
Exactly. I'd say, Vele's certainly done more. I think Josh Reynolds, like Tim Patrick, had a pretty quiet camp. He had that one really, really big day. But outside of that, I didn't see a lot from Josh Reynolds. And that doesn't mean we're not excited for the future. But Devon Vele, a guy who makes plays every day, if you're just watching those practices, I don't think there's a case for anybody.
No, those are your three.
To be in front of Devon Vele,
It's Vele, Tim Patrick, and Courtland Sutton. And Henry, think about that lineup of big size. Yep. And people might be saying, well, you wouldn't have all three of those guys on the field at the same time. Why not? Tim Patrick was in the slot all four
That's what
of
he's
those
best at.
plays.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what he's best at. And when you think of a traditional slot cornerback, you think of Wes Welker. And receiver. That's just like, what'd I say? Slot, yeah. Slot receiver. That's what you think of. You can tweak that a lot. And Tim Patrick has evolved into the Broncos slot receiver right now. Courtland Sutton on one side, Tim Patrick in the middle of the field, Greg Dulcich maybe as a tight end on the other side, and then you have Devon Vele on the outside. Talk about the size, and Sean Payton has talked about just how difficult that is to defend. That's a lineup that the Broncos could realistically roll out as the starters for week 1 of the regular season. That is so dangerous and tough to defend, especially with Tim just mastering that middle of the field. And Tim, honestly, is like a perfect quarterback for a perfect receiver for Bo Nix, because of he's a timing guy. He knows how to find the spaces. And Bo Nix, we saw it. When Bo wanted to get the ball out really quick, he found Tim multiple times, just super, super quick. Turning around right after the sticks. Tim's great with field awareness, knows where the first down is, turns around right after he crosses the first down marker. I mean, this is not just a feel-good story. This is a really good football player that's going to have a big impact on this team.
Yep. And I think the counter for the big receivers is that you go to the big nickel, which is something you see more and more across the league. The Bills, for example, they don't even play. They hardly ever play in the 3-4, 4-3, like what people call base defense. They just, they go nickel 95% of the time, nickel or dime or something even lighter. But they can do that because they'll plug a safety in there. I think one of the teams that did that the most last year was the Ravens, with Mike McDonald as the defensive coordinator, now the head coach for the Seahawks.
Yep.
So that if they really do go that big, I don't know what the personnel works out like for the Seahawks, just because they got rid of 2 safeties this offseason. Do they have a third safety that they want to play out there? But that would be the counter that you see, because you don't want... I guess the Broncos also got rid of a couple safeties, so maybe they're not the best example. But you say, do you really want a Jaquan McMillan type on a Tim Patrick type, or would you rather have a Brandon Jones type on a Tim Patrick type? Now, Jaquan McMillan's really good, and we haven't really seen anything from Brandon Jones, so maybe you do go with the smaller guy. But I think big picture, that's probably what you see more of if the Broncos wind up using these big receivers the way that we think they will. The other thing from Tim Patrick, I guess I mentioned this last night, but for a guy like that, he did the same thing he did against the Packers in the practice. It's sit at the sticks. He converted 3 third downs on Friday in the practice. And again, that's a pretty vanilla defense. The Packers running the same vanilla defense. Somebody like Tim Patrick's going to be able to pick that apart. Like, it shouldn't be a surprise that he's able to see exactly what he saw in a practice and take it to a game and make those same plays, especially when, you take Jair Alexander out of the mix, you take some of the starters out of the mix. Like, it's a great game for Tim Patrick, but it also just shows off why you keep a guy like him who has the brain that he has, because he's just seen so much football. Those that sit in the middle of the field against cover 3, like, that's really, really easy stuff. Throw in that you got to practice against them on Friday. 4 catches and two drives is exactly what should happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you take that over an entire game. That's like 10 catches for 80 yards and 4 touchdowns. There's something crazy.
The 80 part is a little disappointing, but the rest of it sounds awesome.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I would take that. So, I mean, tons to be excited for. And also with Tim, we've heard about how this team is young and hungry, and young and hungry can be very dangerous, as Sean Payton says. You do have to have the right veteran pieces. Courtland Sutton appears to be that. Tim Patrick appears to be that. Garrett Bowles is obviously one of the hearts of this offense. It seems like they have that great veteran presence that you need with a really young and hungry team. And you talked about that Green Bay practice, Henry. I have to read this quote from Matt LaFleur. He got up on the podium yesterday after the game. It's a preseason game. Henry, Matt LaFleur chose to sit his starters. He had to have known what was coming his way, and it was even much worse than he was expecting. This is what he said immediately when he got up on the podium, unprompted by any questions. He said, "Well, that was a long night. Certainly, I think I was hoping that our guys would come out more strain, effort, and grit after getting kind of humbled the other day in practice, and then to have it happen again, not where we want to be." That is music to Broncos Country's ears, to Sean Payton's ears, to everyone tuning in with us. You should be thrilled hearing the opposing coach say that. And again, this is a coach that knew he was going to get humbled a little bit in terms of the scoreboard, because he was sitting his starters when the other team was playing his starters, and he still said that was bad, especially after getting beat on Friday as well. So if you doubted anything I said about Friday's practice about the Broncos dominating, Matt LaFleur just told you that they got their behinds handed to them on Friday and on Sunday. All right, any final thoughts, Henry, before we hit some super chats?
No, we can move along.
All right, let's hit some super chats here. First one coming in from our friend Valley Bandit, who says, Bo Nix is looking great, but I've been hurt before by this team. Is it too soon to be excited? Go Broncos and go DNVR. Valley, I totally understand. You don't want to be hurt. And I mean, there have been some reasons to be optimistic. Drew Lock went 4-1 down the stretch, although Vic Fangio was kind of pumping the brakes on that, saying the false positives. The Broncos traded for a 9-time Pro Bowler and Russell Wilson. Then last year, the Broncos hired Sean Payton to pair with Russell Wilson. I get it. There have been reasons to be optimistic, and the Broncos have let you down in the past. But this is sports, Henry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be like muted for an entire season, that's just not as fun. No, I get if you don't want to have the high highs and the low lows, but I think there's very real reasons to be excited about this team other than just like wanting fandom.
Yeah.
Bo Nix, if you have the quarterback, that's all you need. Look at the Houston Texans. Went from the number 2 overall pick last year to a playoff team. In fact, winning a playoff game last year. The Broncos weren't as bad as the Texans 2 years ago. They had the 12th pick in the draft. They were 8-9 last year. Yes, they did lose some pieces, but clearly Sean has found some youth to help replace him, and now they have that quarterback. So I say there's every reason to be excited and be full go on this team come week 1.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if Bo Nix is good, they're going to be good. If Bo Nix is bad, they're going to be bad. You might as well be excited about it.
Yeah.
The signs are definitely positive. It's also true that it's 2 preseason games.
Yeah.
I'd say Bo looks the best of any rookie quarterback through 2 games. Off the top of my head, I mostly saw more box scores than actual games this week. But why not be excited? There's no reason not to. But it does feel to me that either this is a false positive and they're going to win like 3 games this year, which I don't think is the case.
Some people are still projecting.
Oh, definitely. And the other option is that this isn't a false positive and Bo is good and they're going to win like 11 games. And I know Mike Kliss got roasted for saying last night he thinks they're going 11-6. But
did you hear what Mike Kliss said right after that?
Or 6-11.
Right,
like, well, sure.
It was the ultimate, like, I'm going to be right one way or the other.
Yeah. But I mean, if you get a good quarterback, you're going to be good. Like, that's probably half the game in football. It's just having a quarterback.
Yep. Speaking of Mike Kliss, he watched our show for the first time recently. So shout out, Mike. Hopefully you're tuning in right now.
Hopefully.
Next one coming in from Jay Purrington, who quotes Tony Scheffler. God bless Bo Nix.
Yep.
I love it, Jay. I love it. What a slogan that's going to be for hopefully the next decade or 2. Dan Wise says, I'm a lifelong Broncos fan in Cheeseland. My friends and family are now Bo-leavers. Can't wait to see him continue to improve into the regular season. I love it, Dan. And man, you've had a great 72 hours being in Packers land, getting to rep the Broncos. And Maurice Jackson is rounding us out here, says, what's up, my boys? Just wanted to say I had to be there Friday and Saturday to witness the beginning of an era of happiness. Let's Bo! I love it. Yes, Sunday. Did I read that wrong? Okay. Yeah. Awesome, Marisa. You got to see both of Bo Nix's performances, slicing and dicing the Packers defense. Also, speaking of Friday, Henry and I met our guy, Broncos S. Want to give a shout out to him and everyone we met out at training camp, including our guy, Andrew Farmer, who rocks and rolls with us every day. And wanted to say thank you to this community as well. So pumped to have some optimism in Broncos country. If you're new to this, we do this 5 times a week, if not more, depending on if news happens. And really appreciate everyone rock and rolling with us. Like I said, we're going to be starting this week at 10 a.m. So stay tuned tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 a.m. I expect Wednesday to be a big show with the Broncos announcing Bo as the starting quarterback. And tomorrow, Henry, we're not sleeping. Tomorrow's going to be a great show. Some news for Henry now, too. Baldy's back. Baldy's back tomorrow on the show. Brian Baldinger. I want to know from a national perspective. He is a football dude. He knows ball more than anyone else. I want to know what he's thinking of Bo. Are we getting too high on Bo right now? Or is he buying into it? And Henry, he signed his email back to me last night confirming him being on by saying, Let's go, Bo. So I think Baldy's in on this right now, and I appreciate everyone who's in on this with us. Henry, I appreciate you rocking and rolling with me. Stay tuned to thednvr.com for Henry's much anticipated game grades. They were awesome last week. They're going to be awesome this week as well. You want a breakdown of the game like you've never seen before? Go to thednvr.com today or tomorrow, Henry.
Really hoping tomorrow.
Really hoping tomorrow. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. with our guy, Brian Baldinger. Thank you, everyone, for rocking and rolling with us. Hit us with the thumbs up on the way out. And Broncos Country, let's Bo!
We all silly like the mayor.